Greetings, ladies and gentlemen of the internet. This is Rock and Roll Stock coming at you with my review of the movie Jupiter Ascending. First, let me say I really like this movie, and it kind of saddens me that it's taken on the chin so much from critics and moviegoers. The movie is about a young woman named Jupiter Jones, who's half Russian, half English, born in international waters, and living in Chicago, where she works as a maid with a good chunk of her family. Then one day she finds out that she is actually the genetic reincarnation of It's odd because she's referred to as Your Highness and Your Majesty, but it really seems more like she's like the person she is the genetic reincarnation of. It was actually the matriarch of a powerful family, not so much a ruler. Along the way, she finds enemies and allies, especially when it comes to her the children of the woman she is the genetic reincarnation of. As it turns out that in galactic society, you can write your genetic successor. Basically, if your exact genes were to pop up again in the exact same order, then you can write that person into your will, and it can supersede. In fact, in this case, it does supersede the inheritance of the woman's 3 children. And it basically includes her basically owning the planet Earth. And she also, her main ally along the way is a former skyjacker, part of a intergalactic legion, turned bounty hunter named Kane, played by Channing Tatum. I wouldn't go as far as to call him two-dimensional, but I would basically just kind of say the character is very simple. Which, just because a character is simple doesn't mean that they're not fleshed out. Some people are just very simple people. Not to say he's simple, but who he is kind of a simple thing. Now, things I like. First off, you get some really cool looking alien tech. For example, a lot of things operated off of what can best be described as hologram interfaces. Very similar to what we saw in Minority Report, the big screen, and how an image should be taken and moved, and it's very similar to that, but more just kind of holographic buttons that basically buttons that appear when needed. Kane's boots were operated up from, for example, Kane's boots, which allow him to, he says, surf. It looks more, but the way he moves looks more like skating, honestly. But basically, the boots allow him to fly. Are operated through basic hologram buttons on his gloves that he can operate through with his fingers, just like this. I thought they were really cool, and they operate off of gravity, which I do have a thing about. They're kind of basically they're repulsorless, but they, like I said, they operate off of gravity, and one would think that with that, if the boots, while activated, were to come within close proximity to a person, like say this close to someone's face, it would probably do some damage and or knock the person back. But maybe there's a reason they don't do that. That was just never truly explained. The various ships also look really cool, and there are actually some atmospheric vehicles shown. But one thing that initially I found kind of odd, but then when close-ups were shown us of the ships, they basically had portions that were separate, but then it showed that the ship could, one, they were connected through electricity, or some form of electricity. Basically, you have little lightning bits arcing between the two of them, keeping them in place, and then they can also contract and be one piece. There's also basically kind of a hoverbike that's the same way. Also, some of the capital ships, sheesh, they look damn near like cities. And in fact, one of them even has at one end a freaking church. Also, I really dug the alien design. First off, it used some of the various alien stereotypes, the Greys, reptilians. It also explained why it is that most people kind of ignore or just roll their eyes at people who claim to have had alien or have been abducted by aliens. It's kind of basically kind of the whole, we don't. How do I? Basically, it's kind of an idea that many would be taken at once, and they'd also have their memories blanked, and then it wouldn't take on 1 out of 10 people. So the 9 people are all just like, oh yeah, I don't know what that guy's talking about. Whereas everybody's like, no, there were aliens, I swear. Also, you had human-animal hybrids, such as Kane, who it basically explains that he basically has more in common with a dog than with, or I would honestly kind of say he has less in common with a dog than a human. He appears more human than dog, but he has pointed ears, and he can track by scent. Also, he's got powerful jaws, as is explained later on in his story arc. Also, there were anthropomorphized animals, basically. For example, there was, and I got a kick out when I actually heard the character's name. Helmsman aboard one of the vessels is named Nesh, and is basically an anthropomorphized elephant. He's got the trunk, but it's shortened. 3-degree elephant ears, and the name is obviously to invoke Ganesha, or Ganesh. I mean, it's not Ganesha. Ganesh, as I recall, from I want to say the Hindu religion. But anyways, also the look of some of the extraterrestrial buildings. For example, the main villain of the movie has a giant refinery set up on Jupiter. And looking at whenever we were brought to that and shown the buildings, I was honestly reminded of Getty Prime, or how I imagine Getty Prime from Dune, the home of House Harkonnen. There was also some decent characterization on the primary and secondary characters. A lot the tertiary after the secondary characters, though, it's just kind of to the wayside. Jupiter's family is a little 50-50 on characterization. In general, kind of characterized as a group, but yeah, you get enough of you get enough about the characters to understand them, and about specific characters to understand them and figure out where they're coming from. Like I said, tertiary characters, not so much. For example, the other group of hunters, you really kind of just get that they've been hired by another sibling, by one of the other siblings. That's that. And maybe they're not all of them aren't being entirely honest with the others. Now, the movie's not perfect by far, and so there are things I did not like. When we first meet Sean Bean, there was this whole thing about where he's got just huge. He's got a ton of bees at his home. Not that he's a bee here, but he's got hives on the house. Bees come out and they flock around Jupiter, and then she starts to realize that she notices that she can they basically kind of obey her, and it's explained that bees are genetically engineered to recognize royalty. Now the thing is, this implies there's a ruling class, but their society really just comes off more. The intergalactic society comes off more as being bureaucratic, bureaucracy, and also an oligarchy more than anything. There's never anyone. You don't get the concept that anyone is in charge. Yes, Jupiter is referred to as Your Majesty, Your Highness, but you really don't get the idea that her family is actually ruling the universe. She's just in charge of the house. The second act was a complete tonal shift. For one thing, the entire portion dealing with the bureaucracy of an entitled claiming their inheritance it seemed to be played for laughs. And like I said, that entire second act it was a total. I can understand if that's what's turning a lot of people off. I can totally understand, because it got great. It got a little grating after a while, though. Character Bob was amusing. Seeing him go from just like, okay, all right, to, oh god, what do I do? There's the fact there's a larger subplot that basically affects the larger scale of things, which it's a big deal. But then going into the third act, it's pretty much ignored. I won't mention. It's kind of a you get some. It's a reveal thing as to what it is. So I'm not gonna. But so all in all, it's a good movie, and it's very pretty. Some addition. I don't know. Maybe. Admittedly, I would have not been opposed to seeing a big starfighter battle in the middle of things, or in the middle of the movie, but it really wasn't entirely possible. There was a point where there could have been one, but they opted to instead make it two men against everything. Which it was still really cool to watch. It is honestly to me, it is worth seeing in theaters. And it was. I like the cast. I didn't feel anyone was improperly cast. Basically, especially it was really neat seeing Agent Carter's James Darcy, the actor who plays Edwin Jarvis on the show, as Jupiter's father. That was between him. Mila Kunis and Sean Bean and Channing Tatum, there's really weren't any other actors of note in the entire movie. It's to me, it was worth the time and money. I did not feel ripped off of, like I said, either time or money. And in fact, when the movie comes out for home media, I'm probably going to buy it because I thought it was just that good. Anywho, that's all I got for today. Of course, if you enjoy watching League of Legends streams, don't forget to check out Ashlyn Rainey on Twitch. Link to the channel is down below. Also, feel free to like, share, and subscribe the video. You can follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Again, links are also down below. And this is Rock and Roll Spock signing off. So live long and rock hard.